As farmers, we've known that this has been a water problem for a long time. We could just see the writing on the wall. There was going to be a time when we were going to run out of water. We knew this.
To a certain extent, we're trapped, right? So we've built the water systems that we have, the ag systems that we've had, the industrial systems that we have, that haven't been designed with a sustainable water future in mind.
What modern ag did was build the infrastructure to make it a lot more permanent. When they were soliciting to build the infrastructure, the dams like Roosevelt dams, it was the farmers that were willing to put their land up as collateral in order to ensure that the infrastructure was built.
I mean, it rained a lot where you were at, you know, but we didn't get much here, so we were okay. Yeah, but those storms pretty much went around us, so we were very lucky. This is the traditional way, and we call it flood irrigation. This is the way we've been irrigating out here in the West for over 100 years. So rather than flood irrigating, we're going to be irrigating with this little black tape that's under the ground. With this drip system, we're down to about 1.5 acre-feet of water. So just a fraction of the water. If I was to go back and tell my professors at the U of A what I was doing, they'd come out of their graves. They'd say, my God, that will never work. You know what I mean? But all my life, you know, in farming, I've had people say, oh, the drip irrigation, that'll never work. What I want to do is I've got to figure out ways to farm with well water where we get the same productivity as we do with river water. This is a big thing. You see, because there's vast differences in river water and well water. One of the big differences, it's like, as I said, mother's milk would be like the river water, okay? All the micronutrients. Okay, the key is, how do we do the same thing with wells? That's the secret. Because wells are like irrigating with Diet Coke. It's like having the same baby, but instead of giving it mother's milk, now you're force feeding it Diet Coke. How long is that baby going to survive? You see, that's the secret. And so those are the kind of things that we're working on. Now here's our algae farm. This is really wild, but we actually feed our fields blue-green algae. It is introduced into our canals, and then they're delivered with our drip systems into the roots of the plants. And so this is how we're trying to create mother's milk with well water.
And I will say, I think our farmers get a bad rap. A lot of them are using a lot of very water conservative techniques already. You know, they are really doing the state of the art when it comes to water conservation, and I think not everyone thinks about that. There's always going to be tension in the water community between the sort of municipal users and the agricultural users. And so far we've been able to kind of work that out because I think everyone realizes that there's shortages. Level 1 shortages really only hit agriculture. You don't really see cuts to municipalities and municipal usage until you're pretty deep into shortage.
And if leak mean falls to a certain level, they'll start doing very draconian reductions in water. This is what we're facing as farmers, and we're well aware of it. All the water has to do is drop 7 more feet, and they'll start cutting back water to farms.
It's important to note that agriculture isn't the enemy. It is critical, because a lot of kids these days think that the food comes from Safeway. They don't understand the field to the store to the table.
It's important to have food that's grown domestically and that's safe and available. And that's important for national security reasons.
As a desert state, we can plant and harvest 12 months out of the year because our climate is so amazing. So if we say, well, we shouldn't farm in the desert, tell that to someone in the Midwest who still wants his or her leafy greens, because during the winter, the only place you're getting most of your leafy greens is in Yuma, Arizona.
In farming, we're on the cutting edge of it. We've got to figure out, how do we keep up with all these people? How do we keep up with all these mouths to feed? You know, and I've got all these grandkids, 14 of them. I can't believe I've got that many. You know, and I mean, and I look at them and I say, man, you know, you got to do everything you can.